Hello, hello. This is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and you are watching or listening to another episode of the Rebound Coach Live. Welcome, Choose Life Nation. We are so glad that you're here today. If this is your first time sharing virtual space with me, thank you. Thank you for sharing virtual space with me. I know there's a lot of places to spend time, and I am doing multitasking, lots of places to spend time, but you found it benefit to your life to spend some time here. Y'all, I have a fun topic today because you might be full of it, and I need you to know if you're full of it or not. I can tell you that I realized I might be a little bit full of it, and that might be stopping both of us from getting to where we want to go. This is January. This is the time that a lot of people resolve to do new things in their life. We make goals. Whether we set resolutions or not, January is a time to look at the future with new eyes. And y'all, it might be a thing happening. You might just be full of it. So if it's your very first time sharing virtual space with me, I really appreciate you being here. A tiny bit about how you and I got to spend this time together. Y'all, I was married 10 years to a man who wanted me dead. And that's not a joke. That's a real thing. It's not a headline. It's a thing that actually happened in my life. He almost had the opportunity to attempt. He might have, who knows? But God intervened in a big, major way. It didn't make sense for me to be married to someone like that. Someone who was raised in a good Christian home, had married parents who were married for a lifetime. At the same time, like many young girls, I was molested from the time I was 8 to the time I was 16. And that really affects how you see yourself, how you see God in a household of faith, and how you relate to men. So fast forward, I met the man that I married and eventually divorced. There were red flags. There were reasons not to be together. There were concerns. Also, as a praying woman, I believed that God's answer was yes. And because of that, I believed that whatever came, we'd outlast it. We'd overcome it. God would swoop in and save the day. And he did, just not in the way I was expecting. He was a serial adulterer, and so there was lots of betrayal in our marriage. And eventually he left for this other woman. And y'all, I found out he and that woman had been plotting my murder, which is crazy on a lot of levels, and had been doing so for months by the time I found out about it. So needless to say, kind of your world stops. Not kind of, your world stops. You have to figure out oh my gosh, why is this happening? Why is this my life? What am I going to do now? Through a series of divine events, I'm alive and well. My children and I are together. And y'all, it's been 4 years. It's a new year. So anniversaries happened around this time. A lot of things happen around this time. It's been 4 years. Man, I am grateful and blessed. And I've been unlearning and relearning for quite some time. And I was a coach then. I served couples. If you can imagine the woman in an abusive marriage helping people in abusive marriages and helping marriages, it's a little crazy. But I've been a coach over 20 years. Today, I get to serve high achieving women of faith who've been through betrayal or trauma or abuse and want to reclaim territory in their relationship with themselves. I wrote a book because, y'all, that was a lot. The name of the book is called I Choose Life, because I could allow the identity that my ex-husband had planned for me, and the one, quite frankly, I agreed to tell me who I was allowed to be and how long I was allowed to live, quite literally, or I could choose life. So the name of the book is I Choose Life, Rewrite Your Love Story and Change Your Legacy. And it's not only my story of an abusive marriage and a dangerous marriage, but it's also how someone can be caught up in some predisposed and caught up in a situation like that, and what to do to get out. So if you love someone, you care about someone who's been through an abusive situation, not just a marriage, but a family member, a boss, anything, this is your your guidebook and it's their guidebook. So you can find a copy of this. You can get your copy at thereboundcoach.com/book. That is thereboundcoach.com/book. You can get one of these paper copies and I will sign it for you and write you a love note. Or you can get one from Amazon and they will send you one without a love note. That's just, just your choice. But again, thereboundcoach.com/book. All right, y'all. Are you full of it? We make resolutions every year, or we set goals. If we don't want to call them resolutions, we set goals, we have intentions, right? But often they don't last. Often we're not able to complete them, or we get some of it done and not all of it done. We start, we fail, right? But it's not because we don't know what to do. Okay, we often know what to do. We're just not doing the thing that we know. And there are reasons for that. And one of them is because we might be full of it. You're like, okay, stop telling me that, Dallas. Like, that's kind of rude. It's New Year. You should be helping me be excited. Okay, I promise we're getting to the good part. But we might actually be. Okay, so what are we full of? What are we full of? All right, who we think we are. These are things that stop us from getting to new. We're full of who we think we are. We're full of limiting beliefs. We're full of cherishing memories and old things, even if they're good. Now I'm going to pause here because if you're anything like me, I'm the kind of person I enjoy looking at the fruit of my labor. I enjoy going back to memories, like when the picture memories pop up, like this is from 8 years ago. Like, oh, I like looking at my kids' pictures when they were little. I like looking at videos, home videos and events and stuff. I like to kind of admire the work that I've done over the years. And while some of that is good, and it's good to remember, and it's good to reflect, and even to learn from some of the things that, oh man, that was a mess, right? So that's good. At the same time, we can be so full of those things that we don't have room for new. We don't have room for a new version of us because we are so fiercely committed to the version of us that exists currently. And the version of us that's in our head, it's not even full truth. It's just the version we paint and the version we're committed to. And we're really married to that. This is who I am. This is who I have to be. So in sharing my story with you, I shared that there was an identity that my ex-husband had planned for me and the one I had agreed to. And I had agreed to it. I was so committed. As a matter of fact, recently I've been doing conversations like these virtually for quite some time. So I watched one from 2019. It was October of 2019, as a matter of fact. Everything crumbled for me, marriage-wise. Things got really dangerous. December of 2019, January of 2020. Like, that's the time it all went down. So this is October of 2019, just a couple of months prior. And I was looking into a phone in the bedroom where so many abuses happened, talking to the camera and telling people I thought I was being slick, but it was not slick. I thought I was being slick. But I was telling people that I was being abused. And I was telling, not physically, but here's why I'm staying. And I was telling people I was going to help them stay if they were in an abusive situation. Now, this version of me, right? This version of me on the other side, I have a lot of compassion for that version of me. I have a lot of grace for that version of me because I was doing the very best I could with what I knew. And that's what we all do. Well, most of us, right? We do the very best we can with what we have. We do the very best we can with what we know. We do the very best we can with what we believe. So while I don't condemn that version of me, I can look back and say, look how committed I was to the person I was, to the person I believed myself to be, to what I believed was the right thing. Right. And even in that talk, I said to myself, I said to the person watching, right? I said, well, people insult me by saying, because because people used to hear about the abuse that was happening in my life. People would hear it and they'd say things to me like, that's how I sounded before I divorced my abusive husband, right? And so I would get offended when people say those things to me because I was so fiercely determined to stay married. And I was so fiercely committed to my marriage and my husband and the plan I had that I thought was going to surefire work. And I was insulted by that. So I was telling the person watching, like, oh, I'm so insulted, and don't insult a woman who's being abused by saying that. Now, I still agree that we should not pressure a woman to leave or to make any decisions. We should not pressure a woman. So if you care about someone, if there's someone in your life that's facing an abusive situation of any kind, don't put pressure on them. Okay, just be there, be a friend, be a listener, be a supporter of their decision, whatever their decision is. And when they're ready, you will be there to support. So that is my official answer. But I learned a lot watching that version of me fight for what she thought was the right thing to do. And what was the right thing to do at the time, to be honest. I can't look back and say it should have been different. I can look back and say, I am so grateful for the grace of God who covered me in all the versions of myself, and the grace of God that covers you and all the versions of yourself, right? All that being said, the only reason I was watching that video in the first place is because I had to clean out my drive, and I haven't cleaned it out yet. But I got to this place, and I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when God wants to speak to me, it just shows up in 1,000 ways. And this is one of the ways. So my cloud storage was like full. And my hard drive storage was full. And my phone is full. It's like, oh my goodness. And things in my house, like there's so much stuff in my house. And I'm the person, like I said, I like to look through memories. I like to kind of make collections, and I like to keep things as long as they have use to them, even if like it's not the ideal use anymore. The towel is torn up and we can't really use it as a towel anymore. It should not leave the house ever. You don't take that towel to the beach because it's got a bleach stain like that. But we could still use it. We could cut it up to be rags. We could do this. Okay, so I'm that kind of person to try to keep things until there's absolutely no use. Things have to crumble under me, like a marriage becoming so dangerous I could lose my life, right? Like it had to get to that point before I was willing to make any moves. Now there's benefits and risks to that kind of pattern, but God knows how to move me, and has been doing that my entire life. Knock on wood for this season. But I would say we can be full of old things. We can be full of old ideas. We can be full of limiting beliefs that stop us from being the person we want to be. Okay? We can be full of unprocessed emotions. So going through 10 years of domestic violence is no small matter. So when you immediately, first of all, when you're in crisis mode, there's a certain set of skills. When you're in survival mode, even before crisis, when you're in survival mode, there's a certain level of skills that you learn, acquire, and immediately put into practice. I had to tell myself a whole lot of things to get through every single day with a man I knew was mistreating me, right? I knew it was mistreatment. Just even if we took adultery off the table, just the way that he spoke to me, the way that he was behaving, I knew that was mistreatment, but I was also very committed to marriage and believed that I would be a sinner and a lot of other things if I did not stay married, right? So I told myself a lot. That's a survival skill, right? Procrastination is a survival skill. There's lots of those. So I won't go all the way down there because we don't have all that time, but that's one set of skills. Crisis mode is another set of skills where you can't think above like today or maybe the next couple hours. Like you're really just trying to breathe. I spoke to a woman today who left her husband a couple years ago, but she's still in that survival place, where survival and then crisis mode, where like, man, I just got to get to like tomorrow. I just got to get to like this evening. I just need to, like, you're keeping your wits about you. And there's a lot of emotional effort in that crisis mode where you just shut down. I can only focus on this one thing. I can't think of anything else, just this one thing. And then I can think about the next one thing, right? So there's survival mode, there's crisis mode, and then the crisis ends. We have cyclical lives. Okay, so there's seasons of survival, there's seasons of trauma, unfortunately, there's seasons of recovery, right? There's a time for recovery, but if we don't switch modes, we stay in that crisis cycle. So you can be in a recovery season and your heart and mind still be in crisis or survival, right? It's a different set of skills. Recovery, healing, maintenance, growth, thriving. Those are all seasons of time. Those are all different sets of skills. And if we're stuck on survival, if we're stuck on crisis, we never get to the place of recovery. Even if the crisis is done and you're in a different location and the fire has been put out, but in your mind, you are still fighting fire. If that makes sense. So, okay. If you have unprocessed emotions that you are full of, it's hard to think beyond what you've become accustomed to. And we all get stuck in ruts, like all of us. But it takes intention to get out of it. Okay. And when we're full of all these things, we can't receive the new that God has for us. Even if he has it for us, we've gotten promises and prophecies and we've been learning about it forever and ever and ever, but we still can't seem to take that step. Why? Because we're full of it. So how do you know? How do I know if I'm full of it? Okay. If you're in overwhelm, if you are in frustration, if you are in fatigue, if you are constantly over capacity, those are signs. If you can't imagine a life beyond what you have now, if every time God floats an idea by you, or you, in your mind's eye, you see something amazing for your life, if you can't connect to that, if it just falls back to the floor, you immediately, like, I got so good at batting down the voice of God. When I wanted to hear from God, it was like autopilot. Like I just shut it down. I got really good at it. And I know I'm not the only one. So if you can't imagine a life beyond what you have, if you can't breathe for going on to the next thing, I know this for myself, and I know it for the ladies that I work with and the ladies that I'm with. You can have your schedule so busy that you're just breathless. You know, work can be so busy. And then after work, you've got kids, you've got volunteer commitments, you've got, you know, maybe a side hustle, business, or something you want to do for your personal life. Like it's so full. You're so push. There's no time to breathe. There's no time to process. And life be lifing. So there's always something happening that your mind and your heart and your soul could use a breather. That's a normal, natural thing. But when we're so busy, just the next thing, and you fall into bed exhausted and you get up early to hit the ground running the next day, there's never a time for that breathing. That makes you literally full of it, literally full of unprocessed emotions, the things you never got to say, the thoughts that are not fully thought out, the plans that never get fully drafted because you're just running. Okay, so what do? Like, okay, all right, I know I'm full of it. What do I do now? It makes me chuckle every time I say that. What do you do now? Okay, three steps. If you hang out here at the Rebound Coach Live, you know I love my 3 steps. Okay, here's your 3 steps. What to do. Number 1, identify what does not serve you anymore. Identify. This has been the holiday break. My children are home from school, and we've gotten rid of several things that no longer serve us, physical things. Now, in our house, My kids, if I'm throwing away an old toy, something that's broken, and they have an emotional attachment to the thing, they have a funeral. We have funerals for cups and toys and art projects, and just and we go to the trash can. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to honor the life of this cup. You were a very good cup. You served my you gave me juice when I was a kid. Okay, that was an example of a real funeral we had for a sippy cup that my children have far outgrown. And we take the top off and we're like, we could use this cup. No, the cup is done. We're done. We're done. It doesn't serve us anymore. Our cupboard is full. We need to get rid of the cup. Oh, so we had a funeral for the cup. I encourage you, if there are physical items in your home that no longer serve you and it's time to get rid of them, but you have emotional attachment, raising my hand, have a funeral. Say a proper goodbye and thank it for its service, right? But it's done now. So the same, I did that for the marriage. I actually did a ceremony that I facilitate for other people now called a disavowal ceremony. And I won't get into all of that, but if you need a disavowal ceremony, I'm happy to walk you through that process and facilitate that for you. It's extremely healing. So anyway, number one, identify what doesn't serve you. Number two, get rid of the old, even if it's good. So, going back through my files, I have to, what am I going to keep? What am I going to file in a different place? And what do I not need anymore? What have I duplicated that's just sitting in there taking up space, right? So not everything, even good memories, some things we just don't need anymore, right? So getting rid of the old, even if it's good. Number three, emotional detox. This is the first beginning of the year. A lot of folks do a cleanse of some sort, a physical cleanse for their bodies. We all know we collect junk on purpose, junk by accident, junk nefariously. We get junk in our bodies and around our bodies. And it's important to cleanse our bodies and treat our bodies well if we want them to last, right? So the same is true for our emotional selves, for our soulish realm, for our minds and hearts, right? The same thing is true. And I have the honor of hosting an event coming up soon. I'd love to invite you to. It's called A Day of Healing Safe Emotions. Now, last year, I'm going to share some pictures for those of you who are watching on Facebook. Last year, we had A Day of Healing Safe Touch. We host this. My very best friend, Malikia K. Courtney, started a movement called A Day of Healing Safe Touch last year. And we created a physical space. I created a physical space for women to come and receive safe touch if they had experienced unsafe touch. And so many women have. This year, we are doing A Day of Healing Safe Emotions. And if you're watching, you can see pictures from last year's event up here. It was a really beautiful time. We have a location that I think is absolutely sacred. Spiritually sacred, beautiful, safe place where people can process those emotions. Just give yourself time to breathe and to be, and to not be required to be mom or wife or superwoman or boss lady taking care of everybody else's everything. This is a day for you. And beautiful things happen there. Beautiful things happen there. So if this applies to you, if you're like, man, I'm really full of junk, I'm full of emotional junk, I'm full of mental junk, I'm full of spiritual junk, this is the space for you. If you're in the Tampa Bay area, Tampa Bay area. It's not in Tampa, but in the Tampa Bay area. You can find information about this at thereboundcoach.com/events. thereboundcoach.com/events. Yes, I was looking for there it is. thereboundcoach.com/events. The information for A Day of Healing Safe Emotions is there. It's happening on Saturday, February 10th in Odessa, Florida, which is not exactly Tampa, but it's close. It's a really, really, really beautiful space. And the healing that happens there is epic. And there's no there's a difference between self-love and self-comfort, right? We call a lot of things that are self-comfort self-love, like a bubble bath or chocolate or ice cream or wine or any other thing of choice, right? Those are self-comfort things, and there's time and space for it. Self-love is, think about the way you love your child, right? You love your child, and love involves a bunch of stuff, not just fun toys. Love for a child involves discipline. It involves boundaries. It involves making things right when things didn't go right. It involves provision, right? So, thinking about our hearts, thinking about ourselves, and loving ourselves. And what does that mean? That means giving yourself space to heal. It means taking opportunities that you know are good for you, that you know are good for you, and not letting another opportunity pass by. So there are a limited amount of tickets because obviously we want to serve the people well in high quality. This is not a high quantity event, it's a high quality event. So there are limited spaces available. You want to make sure you have yours now. Go to thereboundcoach.com/events and get your ticket to a day of healing safe emotions. So, if you're on Clubhouse, we're about to open the after chat because I would love to hear what resonated with you. If you are on Facebook, feel free to put in the comments. If you're watching the replay, or if you're here live, please put in the comments what resonated with you from today. Are you full of it? Have you been full of it? Are you full of it? What are you going to do about it? I'm so blessed to have you here sharing this space with me. Thank you so much for joining me at the Rebound Coach Live. We are here every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And thanks again for your time. I look forward to reading your comments. And for those of you over on Clubhouse, look forward to chatting with you. And until next time, folks, choose life.